To talk about this more, we're joined from Riyadh by Middle East geopolitical security analyst, Dr. Riyadh Kahwaji. Dr. Riyadh, thank you for joining us. This renewed violence, which we were concerned about between Druze and Bedouin factions, tell us about the deeper sectarian and also the tribal tensions that's in southern Syria. What does it tell us about that?
Well, I mean, we have to look to give a bit of background over here so that the audience would really understand what's happening, because right now, as it looks, we have what appears to be a sectarian showdown between the Druze and the Sunni tribesmen from the remote from the neighboring Daraa province. But the truth here, this is deeper than this. This goes back to the Israeli-Syrian relations ever since the collapse of the previous regime. We know that for 50 years, Syria was ruled by a minority Alawite group. The Sunnis make up 85% of the Syrian population. Now, the previous regime was brought down, as we all know, by the armed factions. Most all are Sunni. And now we have a Sunni in power for the first time in 50 years. We have the majority Sunni ruling in the country. Israel was not happy with this. Israel has made it clear that it wants to have what appears to be like a security zone along its borders with Syria. So Israeli troops infiltrated deep into Syrian territory, reached the outskirts of Daraa, and ever since they have been presenting themselves as protectors of the Druze. Israel is claiming that the Druze minority is under threat. And since Israel has a Druze community that is very much integrated within the Israeli society, Israel is saying that it is interfering to help protect the Druze minority, while the actual truth is that Israel wants to force an agreement that would secure the presence of its forces in a security zone in the south. So, coming to what happened yesterday, we saw the Syrian forces were trying to establish a presence in the south. We saw a skirmish that turns out in a big clash between some outlaw groups. Also, we saw the Syrian forces, and the Israelis stepped in under the pretext of protecting the Druze. We saw these airstrikes on Damascus, on the Ministry of Defense, and near the vicinity of the presidential palace. And that was followed by the full withdrawal of the Syrian troops, predominantly Sunni Syrian troops. The strike against the Syrian government institutions and this withdrawal from the Suwayda, and then the Druze forces in there, the Druze community in there, where we have one of three spiritual leaders in that city that is clearly allied with Israel. We saw raids, or we heard about raids of overnight against some Sunni villages in the outskirts of Suwayda, and this has led into what's happening today. So what we have on the surface, we see here clashes in an area whereby the security forces were forced out by the Israelis from it. And now the Israelis are saying that they're going to allow some security forces back in to help protect the Druze city, the Suwayda, and the province. However, the situation is escalating, and I believe, as other observers and analysts, that this is a pretext for a wider Israeli intervention in that part, so that Israel could assert its military presence under the pretext of protecting the Druze.
Dr. Riyadh, there are accusations flying between Syrian government and Druze fighters. But who on the ground is currently holding real control in Suwayda? And what will this latest fighting do? Will it maybe upset supporters of President al-Shara, who has had minorities support him up until this point, it seems?
Well, Israel has no say. This is Syrian country. This is Syrian sovereignty. So Israel has placed itself as the protector of the Druze without any international mandate or UN mandate to do so. And we have to remember that Israel already has plenty of forces across the borders, are in various areas in the southern part of Syria. And it wants to legitimize this as part of an agreement with the government that would allow it to stay for several years under the pretext of making sure that there is a full transition in Syria and the current government manages to establish itself and establish security all over the country. And will not allow any fundamentalist or extremist groups from coming to the Israeli borders. Right now in Suwayda, the Syrian security and armed forces were driven out yesterday by the bombardment of the Israelis. So we have a security vacuum created by Israel. What we have in Suwayda are the Druze armed factions that were armed by Israel. They're the ones in control of the city of Suwayda and parts of the suburbs of Suwayda. They are the ones who are clashing now with the Sunni tribesmen moving from the neighboring Dar'a province, which is to the west of the Suwayda province. This is the actual situation. Now there are reports coming saying that Israel will allow contingents of the Syrian internal security forces to return to Suwayda to help enforce a peace and disengage both fighting parties.
Dr. Riyadh Kahwaji, we have to leave it there, unfortunately, but thank you so much for joining us.